This is FlightLine.
FlightLine is an all-new concept in entertainment television. Fast-paced, exotic locations, amazing stories of people and places, investigative reports from the people who know the truth.
The grounding of value jet by the FAA had little to do with safety. It was about politics and eliminating a competitor. Greg Fife has the story.
It is about people and their stories from all over the world.
Rio. Vast, pristine beaches, framed by incredibly majestic mountains, make this one of the most beautiful places in the world. But go in the water, and you could die.
We have a breaking story in North Hollywood. Let's go right to Skycam 5 and take it.
And we heard that the robbers were coming out of the banks. We flew around to the front of the bank, and there these two robbers were just firing away with these AK-47s. It's unbelievable.
During Operation Desert Storm, I dropped the first bomb.
I'd like to go flying with you in a U-2, maybe an aerobatic helicopter, or how about a P-51 Mustang?
When FlightLine continues, number one for takeoff is Michael Dorn on the bridge of Deep Space Nine.
The most dangerous time to fly in history is nearly upon us. The entire air traffic control computer system will likely crash as we enter the year 2000, grounding every airline in America. Greg Fife and Rollin Smith bring you the story that could stop all air traffic.
Coming up on the next FlightLine, we'll reenact the last hours of the life of 7-year-old Jessica Dubrov. Did Russian pilots really shoot down our F-86s in the Korean War? We'll begin weekly news updates on a global scale.
Lady in red.
She too is a model strutting her best stuff.
What we do is we touch down on top of the wave, and then we just ride the wave down the front side like a surfer does.
FlightLine. Action-packed. True stories about real heroes. We'll get up close in person with Hollywood's top stars and movie makers.
The world is our stage, and the stories are broad-based.
The common thread is a connection, sometimes direct, sometimes remote, to aviation and space. The demographics and interest levels are amazingly large and diverse. In just 12 months, USA Today ran 76 cover stories directly related to aviation or space, with another 135 articles inside the paper. In the same period, Time had 5 covers and 13 stories. Newsweek, 4 covers and 14 stories. People magazine had 5 covers and 10 stories directly related to aviation and space.
Broadcasters are even more enthralled with these stories because strong public interest generates good ratings.
In just 1 year, over 1,072,000 news segments on aviation or space ran on television, and nearly 1 million more stories and movies with aviation or space themes were broadcast during the same 12-month period. FlightLine is about people and their stories, not just airplanes.
The Demographic Foundation is the tremendous public interest in anything connected to flight and space. In fact, last year, more than twice as many people attended air shows than all of NFL football. Over 30 million people.
FlightLine will use an ensemble cast of veteran correspondents and fresh new faces of experts and insiders.
There is a major movement ongoing in the U.S. aerospace industry to take the man out of the cockpit.
To do the kind of athletic aerobatics that we do, I mean, we consider ourselves athletes.
There is no accident that has one cause.
They will provide the depth, the investigations, the controversy, and the truth.
Hi, I'm Greg Fife, an air safety investigator with the National Transportation Safety Board, and I'm going to take you behind the scenes to show you how we play Dick Tracy on an accident site.
The stories are boundless, with celebrities like Senator astronaut John Glenn to Hollywood's top stars, Harrison Ford, John Travolta, Tom Cruise, Patrick Swayze, Jimmy Buffett, and many, many more. From the rich and famous to the real people behind the incredible stories,
Our cameras will literally fly the world, capturing every aspect of the human drama. Pain, sorrow, anger, destruction, humor, and positive, heartwarming stories of determination, heroism, and triumph.
FlightLine is opportunity.
It's fresh, new, and exciting.
FlightLine cuts through the clutter of copycat programming. FlightLine will capture the next untapped audience.
This is FlightLine.
Patty Wagstaff is a 3-time aerobatic champion. We'll fly with her G-forces and all in a ride you'll never forget. What do a model, a fire, and a World War II airplane have in common? See The Lady in Red. Kurt Russell, John Travolta, Harrison Ford, Michael Dorn, and Kenny G are all celebrities who share a common bond. They're all pilots. We'll fly with one of them in his 40-year-old Saberjet. Hollywood and television rendezvous in the sky, and we'll show you how they get those shots everyone's talking about. From the Hollywood bank robbery to the opening of Birdcage. Do angels really exist? You decide as we go flying with Angel Flight. We've all seen sanitized pictures of the stealth fighter and bomber. I'll share my personal encounter with stealth and more on FlightLine.
And now, here's Andrea Naverson and Roland Smith.
Welcome aboard, everyone. I'm Roland Smith.
And I'm Andrea Naverson, and this is FlightLine.
You know, we're journalists by profession, but we have aviation in our hearts. Andrea probably has a little more in her heart than the rest of us. She's married to a Delta Airlines pilot.
Roland is himself a pilot and has reported on aviation stories from Vietnam to the Persian Gulf War, where he flew in the back seat of an F-16 trainer.
That was a great experience, and we'll have that story for you someday. But right now, welcome to this edition of FlightLine, where Patty Wagstaff is #1 for takeoff.
We begin with a pilot in the tradition of Amelia Earhart, Patty Wagstaff. Her autobiography, Fire and Air, Life on the Edge, is an intimate portrait of her ascent to 3 national aerobatics championships. While we wait for Hollywood to make her book into a movie, we created this music video in honor of the lady who truly soars with the sun.
It's real important to compartmentalize what you're going to do when you're flying an air show. That's my cue card. It's all done in symbols that are called a resti. It's kind of a hieroglyphics or a code that we write in. That's how I can read what my routine is, because no matter how many times I practice it, I still get up there and forget what my next maneuver is. So you've got blood flowing from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet and back and forth, and you're up there, you know, spinning around, and you need something to help you figure out where you are. There is a fine line and a balance between being thrilling and scaring people, but not scaring them too much. You don't want them to think you're going to crash and die, but you do want to give them that little, you know, excitement and tingle.
Waiting
great illusion factor. Part of it is that pulling out just before you're going to hit the ground, where we know what our airspeed is and we know how hard we can pull, but it makes it look like, God, is she going to make it? Or doing a ribbon cut. And that actually is kind of scary because you are so low, but it really gives the illusion of doing something really spectacularly dangerous.
Waiting for you to come along.
I think my favorite movie that has to do with aviation is The Great Waldo Pepper, the Robert Redford barnstorming movie. He gave a very good portrayal of what it's like to be a barnstormer. I'd do the movie about me and my life, traveling around the country, meeting all the people that I meet and what it's like and the adventures that I get into, and flying in horrible weather, trying to get to a show, and add a little Peyton Place stuff in there.
Are you married, Patty?
No.
I keep telling my wife that if I ever break up with her, I'm going to find you and ask you to marry me.
Time to live in the scattered sun.
I push the envelope every day when I fly. I'm always trying new things. Every time I go up on, I don't think I'll ever have my airplane mastered. It's capable of doing more than I'm capable of doing. So as long as I'm flying it, I'll be learning something and I'll be pushing the envelope in it.
Waiting for the sun.
If you have the stomach, there are two ways you can fly with Patty. One, Microsoft's Flight Simulator for Windows 95 features Patty in her aerobatic plane. Or you can watch her right here. She'll be a regular on FlightLine.
And I would like to take you flying with me. I can't take you in my airplane because I only have one seat, but I'd like to go flying with you in a U-2, maybe an aerobatic helicopter, or how about a P-51 Mustang?
When FlightLine continues, number one for takeoff is Michael Dorn on the bridge of Deep Space Nine.
Hollywood has long had a fascination with aviation, and not just in the movies. There are many well-known actors who are not only pilots, they fly their own planes. Kurt Russell, John Travolta, Harrison Ford, even Kenny G has a seaplane in Seattle. Recently, I sat down with actor and pilot Michael Dorn, whom we know as Worf from Star Trek. He flies an F-86 Saberjet. I asked him how his fascination with airplanes began.
When I was 3 years old, 2.5 years old, I was in the hospital for some childhood injury, and I got a little mechanical helicopter that you run along the ground and the blades spin. Yeah. And that was it for me. For some reason, I drove everybody in the hospital crazy with that thing. And I think that was the spark.
And you thought about flying from 3 years on?
Yeah. My brother and I used to play a game where we would, put boxes together to make like a cockpit, and we'd jump in it and fly around the world saving people.
You can go back in time to any place, any time. Where would you go? Who would you influence, and why?
I go back to when the Tuskegee Airmen were having their shot, and they were flying in Italy. That's the time I go back to.
Okay, let's show them what we're made of. Go get them, Hannibal! See, Hannibal. Yeah!
I mean, those guys had to be